Welcome back, everyone. This is definitely not a step-by-step build. This is more of a review. I wanted to show you what I'm going to do after I do my, well, after I finish my Ducati and my Nissan Z build. I'm going to start this, which is completely unique for me. I've never built a helicopter before. It intrigued me, and I said, you know what? I've never built one. I'm going to build one. So this is going to be my next build after my others. So I figured I might go ahead and do a review of it. So, huge box, which again, I was looking at 1/35 scale and going, wow, it's going to be kind of small, but it's not. I don't know what I was thinking. So I'm going to get the parts out, and we're going to look at some sprues, go look at the decals and look at the instructions, and let you see what's inside this box. All right, the instruction manual for the AH-64D Apache Longbow attack helicopter by Tacom. One interesting thing was the paints required basically are only 4 colors, which, wow, I don't think I've ever built a model that only required 4 colors. So that's going to be new. Gives you a nice sprue breakdown of what's in the box. Starts off, as usual with most aircraft, with your cockpit and detailing all of that and getting all the parts. I talked over with my buddy, and he said Quintus is actually going to be making a set of their decals for this model kit. So hopefully by the time this gets on my bench to start, I will, or they will have those out, and I can order them from Hobby Nut Models and get them in. So this shows you everywhere where you're going to have to drill for accessories and other parts to be attached. So special attention to the different size drill bits needed and the locations for that. So it's going to be fun. Looking forward to this. It's really tough to look at this and look at all the sprues and not want to start this right now. So very good detail instructions. Working on the rotor here. Step 4, step 5, we're already closing up the fuselage with windows being attached and main rotor on top and cockpit, and some work on the rear. More work, little tiny details I noticed in there, wipers and grab handles all over the place, which these look really fragile, but they're really nice inside the kit. Some weapons underneath the nose, radar dome attached to the front. Just breaks down the detail of building it over here and attaching it over here, attaching the gun underneath. It seems pretty concise and lots of detail to be added, which part of the reason I really enjoy model building is the research into the real vehicles and seeing how close you can get it to detail. Am I going to build it box stock? Am I going to try to add extras? That kind of decision-making process. When you go through looking at the directions, you can begin to make those plans and research what is out there if you want to go to that next level of detail. If you want to order resin parts, I noticed in the directions when I was looking at them earlier, the wheels, I may be judging already, but the wheels are 2 halves that glue together. It's going to have a seam. I don't know if that seam is actually going to be where the tire naturally has a seam, or will I have to work on that, or should I try to research and get some resin details? So researching the directions here and looking at the parts that are in the box will help me make that decision. I did notice also it's got lots of photo etch that's in the box, from screens to railings to everything, to make it so scale realistic is pretty exciting. Step 14, attaching the wings to the fuselage. More little photo etch screens. Starting to build the engines here midway in step 15. Lots of photo etch, and when I was looking at the parts earlier, the rivet detail on some of these parts are so crisp and so good. It gets your attention for sure. I did notice that they do give you the choice, once you install the engines, that they give you a closed hood option. So if you don't want to detail the engines, you can build the engine and seal them up and just paint and detail what you want and what will show. But it also gives you the option here in step 21 to build it with the actual door open. So you could detail both engines and have them both open, or even close one engine and have one open, which I think that's probably what I'm going to go with. So that way you can see it all buttoned up and also see the detail that this kit provides, which, as a layman, it looks pretty impressive. Attaching more of the rear supports, and here's where we see the tires. You see how they join together. So I'm gonna have to look at that before I decide, does it need resin or not? I don't want to just order resin without knowing how it's gonna go together, because I can build it and then make that decision. Lots more going on here, more fine details. There's so many little things that I didn't even know existed on a helicopter. But I like how a lot of the cables and different things like that are represented with plastic. Like when you get back in the engine, it's got lots of tubing and cables and things like that attach. I thought that was pretty impressive. But again, I find it hard to believe, this is where research is going to come in handy, but I find it hard to believe that with all that engine detail, that there's only going to be 4 colors required. So I don't know. We'll have to see. If you guys have any suggestions of where I could go look for details, I would appreciate it. You can drop it in my comments section, because I am absolutely lost when it comes to this. But I know Google is my friend, and there's a lot of stuff out there. Main rotor assembly, attaching the blades. This is where those little metal cylinders come into play. Don't know exactly how, but I noticed it jumped off the page and said metal cylinder. Attaching the rotor. Another part of this kit that I thought was amazing was that it gives you an option, because this is a big bird. It gives you an option that if you did not want to have the blades or the full assembly there, it would take up such a large area. They have the option of a folded blade kit, which gives you a substructure back here that attaches and holds the blades. It's coming up here in the directions, and I thought that was pretty impressive. Starting on all the weapons after the radome is attached to the top. This little bad guy, some nice rocket tubes. And everything just attaches. And then here's what I mentioned about the stashed prop. What did they call it? The blade fold kit. The blade fold kit. So all these steps here pertain to building the structure that sits over the fuselage. And then once you actually will attach the blades, so that way you will have a folded, which will take up less room. Then we have all of our decal markings and placement for all of those, which that's going to be challenged too for me, just to make sure they're all in the right place and keeping track of them all. So yeah, I'm looking really forward to even more decals. Ooh, that'll probably take the most time. Gives you some nice color breakdowns on different paint schemes. So yeah, so let's get some sprues out and start looking at some really cool sprues. Such a bad looking helicopter. Looks so cool. Be right back. All right, first up on the sprues. I've already opened these. I took them all out of their bags except for the glass because I get worried about scratching the glass. Because I was very impressed by the glass. Well, I gotta quit saying very impressed. I was happy to see that there was really no imperfections or distortions on any of the glass parts, which is awesome. So no cleaning or no fixing of things. So I'm going to try my best to keep it that way. And that's why I'm going to keep it in the plastic. And I may even take it out of the box and just store it on a shelf so that way it doesn't get hurt. Now, the actual helicopter body, I'm going to zoom back out. Again, I know I said at the beginning of the video, I don't know what I was expecting. Because when I think of a 132nd airplane, it's a pretty big airplane. But I don't know why I was thinking this was going to be smaller, but it's a big airplane. I mean, it's a good, if we were to take it on here from 0 to 16 inches, and that's not including once you build, just slide it up a little bit. Once you build the front, I guess it's a radar or radome. Once you build that, you're probably looking at a 17-inch long model. And for me, that's just, I mean, wow, I know. I mean, I have the Lancaster upstairs, and I know that's going to be big. I'll probably have to, kick one of my kids out of the house and take over his room or her room. But it goes really well together. I've went ahead and trimmed off the supports that stopped it from joining, but there's a seam right here, but I believe there's stuff that goes over and covers that seam a piece. There's stuff on the bottom that covers some of the seams. So I always get nervous when it comes to seams, but I'm going to rely on some of my skilled friends here in the Nashville area to help me get over that, if that makes sense. But as far as the rivet detail and the surface detail on this, it's so good. You can run your finger over it and see all the raised rivet detail and the recessed panel lines, and yeah, so pretty. Like I said, I want to start it right now. I want to sit out here tonight and just clip parts off and start gluing and painting, but I can't. I have to finish the other ones because I'm trying to get them ready for that show in Indiana, and that is coming up. So next up is our decals. I promise this is the last bag I'm gonna have to tear into because I hate that sound and doing all that. But we got our decals, which look great. I think if you could, I don't have my glasses on me, but I think you could probably even read all these if you really zoomed in and were able to look. But yeah, really nice decals. We've got our instrument clusters, which, like I said, I'm hoping Quintus comes out with that set before I need it. But if they don't, I've got it covered with that. We've got our cool shark mouth. United States Army. And we've got the other stuff that comes in here is a little piece of wire, which I'm going to leave in the bag so I don't lose it. Got lots of oops, sorry, a little bit of glare there. Lots of photo etch. I almost said Photoshop. And another sheet, or fret, whatever you call them. So lots of parts there. Some real nice screens. And buckles and seatbelt harness apparatus. Hardware and all that. A piece of vinyl. It looks like a ammo belt. So I think that might be for the nose gun. And the last piece of photo etch. Some looks like brackets or something. Lots of tiny, tiny stuff. And then 8 of these little metal rods. So I think those pins go down and maybe help the rotor stay in place, or maybe you can switch them out. Get 2 of these little, looks like avionics. I mean, who needs resin or aftermarket stuff when the detail's that good? But I'm sure somebody out there is making some really nice stuff that makes you even question that. But even that, the mesh in there, it's just so good. And the rivet detail. And you have 2 of those, so I imagine it's 1 for each side. They're definitely different though. So there is that. And we got the E sprue, which is your cockpit. And even all the padding on the side walls, I assume that's what it is. It kind of looks that way. Your instrument cluster. Gosh, I want to build this. Your back wall, all the cables and the hoses and all your fine raised. Which again, if Quintus comes out, I imagine you'd have to take all of that off and put the Quintus stuff on there. I've only used Quintus on 1 kit so far, so I got the F sprue. I mean, I know that it looks big, but that's really thin, and I'm going to have to take care in cutting some of these parts out. But even, I don't know if you can see the detail on that back rotor, tail rotor. It's just really good. And again, I've never built one, so maybe this is common, and you're just sitting there shaking your head going, really? That's about the same as always. But yeah, this is a very, very nice kit. And so many small detailed parts. Here is the R sprue, which I think it looks like that's a lot of the pieces for the folded blade. I'm not seeing a ton of sink marks anywhere either. I guess I see a couple, but depending on where those are going to be, will you even need to worry about them? We'll find out when we have assembly going on. I wish I knew what all these parts were so I could say, oh, that's this. Oh, that's this. Oh, that's the flux capacitor. More of the rivet detail. You can run your hand over and just feel how nice they are. And that is the end sprue. Trying to move it around so you can see what eye. The top housing, and these have really tall rivets, but the photo etch goes down on top of these, so it all just joins right together. I was curious, they did not seem to include pilots, which I'm fine with, because that's one more chore I'd have to do is painting figures. But sometimes painting figures brings adding figures brings a kind of new life to it. And that's sprue H. Lots of weapons here on this sprue. Good thing on some of these is they're slide molded, so there's no seams on these. Just have to add the rear part and the fins. And those are nice. Rockets. Some interior pieces and rotor pieces, and here's our tires. Like I said, I'm going to really have to look at how those join and see if a seam is going to be a problem or not. If anybody knows anything about resin tires for the Apache, I'm going to research, but if anybody finds it, go ahead and leave it in the comments. I'd appreciate it. More stuff that looks like it's going to cover seams. Look at that. It's so nice. Yeah, the detail is just really, really nice. So many tiny pieces. That was sprue P. And the last couple sprues, which we've already seen that one, but here is one that when I was looking at earlier, when I looked at it, I was like, good gussy, how am I going to cut these out and not break them? All these little handles, because they're just so, they're so fragile. So yeah, hopefully I can get them off without breaking it. If not, if I break it, I'll probably have to use brass wire or something and try to make my own. But I have every confidence that I won't screw it up too bad. So, very delicate, very fine. And the last sprue in the box, which is the L sprue, which is a lot of engine components. Here's what I was talking about earlier, is those cables, wiring and cables and harnesses, and man, can I just start on this now or do I have to wait? So it gives you two of those sprues because of course it's got two engines. So that completes my review of this bad boy. So I'm excited to start, but I'm gonna have to wait probably a month before I get to. So I also picked up a 1/9 Ming BMW racing motorcycle while I was out there, and I think I'm going to do a review on that shortly, plus the exhaust that I ordered for my Ducati bike, my second Ducati I'm going to build. It came in, and I promised that gentleman that I would go ahead. I promised that gentleman I would do a review, and I have seen the parts, and they are so nice and so smooth and go together flawlessly. So I will get all of that going, but thanks for spending however long this video took. I appreciate you taking your time to watch my video. If you haven't subscribed to my channel yet, if you'd like to, go ahead and hit that subscribe button. And if you like the video, go ahead and give it a like. I appreciate you guys. Have a great night. See you next time.